good evening, all of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago by extension. My name is Marlon David, and I'm your host on the Minority Report. We're back here another Tuesday evening where we continue to provide you, the general public, with the facts, investigating the issues, presenting education in as many ways as possible. And as we do that, we know that you, the public, are generally better off. This evening we have a very exciting program lined up for you as we normally do, and each week we intend and strive to be better the next week. We know that quite a lot has been happening, but at the end of it, I always like to take the opportunity to thank you, the viewing audience and the listening public, for making the Minority Report the #1 viewed television program and Facebook program in Tobago. And I'm not saying that just to boost ratings, I'm saying that because it is the facts. And so I always thank you for being with us, for sitting in your living rooms, for involving your children in the program, and for even coming onto the live streams and commenting and participating generally in the program. This evening, if you are watching us, you can do so on the Tobago Updates website. You can view us on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, or you can see us on the Tobago Updates Facebook page. And I know many of you normally like to participate using that particular platform because it gives you the opportunity to comment as we go along. As I always do, I urge you to keep your comments clean, keep it respectful, respect each other's opinion, so that we can continue to make this program what it is designed to be. This evening, I want to first of all say also thanks to the Tobago Updates management team, who just earlier on today I was reflecting on the fact that here we are over 2 years on the Minority Report, consistently presenting the facts, consistently bringing information, consistently bringing education to all of Tobago every single Tuesday evening. And that has also been made possible by a very cooperative management team here at Tobago Updates, and they've done human service in giving us the opportunity to come to you, the public, every single week. So I want to say thanks a lot to the management and ownership of Tobago Updates Network, and we do hope that they continue to strive. We want to also indicate that if you are an Amplia subscriber, you can turn to channel 102, that's channel 102 on your cable network, and you can view the program in the comfort of your living room. And I'll encourage you to continue sharing the live. And let me get right into it this evening. I want to go straight. We have so much to discuss today, so I want to get right into introducing my guest in studio with me this evening. It gives me great pleasure to welcome for the first time on the Minority Report, and I trust it's not going to be the last, our Member of Parliament for Tobago East, the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy. Welcome to the Minority Report, our entire audience and viewership.
Good evening to the viewing and listening audience, and thank you for the opportunity, Marilyn, to be here on the Minority Report. We're looking forward to our discussion.
Nice. I think we're going to have some great conversations this evening. There's so much for us to discuss. But before we get into your neck of the woods, we recently held in Tobago on Sunday the party's arm of the internal consultation for constitutional reform. You were present, ever present, and very, very active in the process, I must say. How was that experience for you, and what were some of the things that you really latched on to coming out of that?
I first want to commend those members of the party who took the opportunity to participate. It was extremely rich discussions. I particularly like the fact that one of our party members, actually the chairman for Tobago East, introduced the conversation around while we promote rights and the Constitution must speak to rights, that we teach people about the accompanying responsibilities, because that is extremely important. And I used the opportunity to intervene then to endorse the sentiments shared by the chairman for Tobago East, Mr. Smith, by advising the consultation committee that at Gender and Child Affairs, we have been embarking on a project for quite a number of time, teaching children about their rights. But what we recognize that even though we promote the rights of children and we teach them about their rights, that it was crucially just as important for us to also teach them the various responsibilities that accompany each right. Because in our country, everybody likes to say, well, I have a right to this, a right to that. But in exercising your right, what about the responsibility that goes with it? So that was one exciting aspect for me. Another rich area of discussion that I had a little bit of debate with the minority leader. I think that way I was very active. Was around term limits, and I said I fully endorse that. As we move forward, looking at term limits and also fixed dates for election, putting some level of certainty, so nobody could say I have it in my back pocket, and people could know when. I mean, we had discussions around that. Another area that I'm particularly passionate about is the role of members of parliament as well as the executive. So I'm a sitting MP, I'm also a minister of government, and walking the shoes, you could see how difficult it is to manage a constituency and manage a ministry. So in part of and I think it was Senator Hislop who spoke about, in looking at constitutional reform, looking at the way how elected representatives perform, maybe focusing on their legislative duty, and then those who make up the executive, those who become ministers, coming from another place or being selected from among professionals. So I want to use this opportunity to encourage not only party members, but all Tobagonians, if you haven't given your opinion, shared your views, to be a part of the process. And last but not least, as most important for me, is Tobago's place. And that is most important, Tobago's place within the Constitution, how Tobago is viewed. And I believe it was the political leader of the Tobago Council would have said, we are aware that constitutional reform would take some time. And we have something that went down to the parliament that reflects the will of the people of Tobago. And we want that to be focused on. And I endorse that sentiment. It's a high time that we bring that matter back to the fore and really give that focus to Tobago's autonomy, Tobago being able to chart its own destiny. And while we work around constitutional reform, not stymie the process of what the people of Tobago would have already sent down. And I want to let Tobagonians know, Trimbagonians know, that no one party, no one entity can give Tobago what Tobago is demanding. It calls for all of Trinidad and Tobago because the parliament reflects the people of Trinidad and Tobago. There's an opposition, there's a government bench, and we have a Senate. It must be accepted by all. And I'm just using this opportunity to curse my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. When that time comes, to give Tobagonians what we truly deserve.
That I think sums up in a great sense the entire evening, and I want to agree with you. The discussions were indeed rich. A number of subject matters came up. I'm not sure because there are mixed reviews in terms of how each was ventilated. Some persons think that we didn't have enough time with certain topics, especially one I know that is still trending, the Salaries Review Commission.
But that's the thing with consultation, and because the process hasn't closed off, so you still have the opportunity to send your comments in, to share your views, your opinions. You still have a chance to shape the way our constitution emerges coming out of this process. So don't just say, well, I didn't have enough time. You still have enough time. Until the committee submits their recommendation through the party process, you still have enough time to give your opinions.
So I want to use this opportunity now that you've gone in that direction to indicate to persons that feel free, if there's something that you want to still plug in coming out of the process. I'm certain that if they get the information either to the party executive or to the MPs, that it can be conveyed as well to Mr. Scotland and his team. And I really want to say, even to the team that is vested with the responsibility, they did an excellent job.
Definitely, yes.
Definitely. How you felt about that? Because the People's National Movement, again, continues to lead the process. No other political party has done this, to establish a committee to go around to its membership and garner the information. How do you feel in terms of being part of that particular process and seeing the competency of the persons that sat at the head table?
We're not a party that operates by VAPs. We have clear structures, we have clear policies, we have a clear mandate on how we do things. And I felt extremely proud to see, because we had a mixture of experience, youth, as well as those who are more elderly, sitting at a table, guiding a process. And I felt proud to be paying them again. I'm always proud, but I really felt proud to be paying them again. And to the fact that they allowed persons the opportunity to freely share their views. There was no, well, pull back because this is the party perspective. They allow persons to really ventilate the issues, and I appreciated that. And I want to commend them. And I also want to commend those persons who came out for being brave and bold enough to speak up and speak out. Because, as I said to a little girl today, and on my walk up, I said, your voice is important. So tell me, what is your issue? And so a young girl, and she said, well, water. And I said, I'm going to call the manager and complain. Because you need to let people know that their voice matters. And the fact that the party took the time to ensure that its membership was able to come out and to help to shape the future of Trinidad and Tobago in a sense, because what we propose, once it's accepted by General, it will go forward towards the national committee that is looking at constitutional reform. It gives the membership a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging, a sense of also knowing that I have the opportunity to shape the course of my nation. And I'm really proud of the People's National Movement for that.
Very, very well put. I think there are many persons who also shared that particular sentiment, being given the opportunity to voice their opinion. To really shape how we go forward. So, MP, we have a number of topic areas and subject matters we want to be able to cover. I want us to shift a bit into an area that I know there's an ongoing conversation now in Trinidad and Tobago, more so in Tobago, it's intensifying with respect to the issue of crime. I know as the Member of Parliament, you traverse throughout the east, especially of Tobago. Give an overview. What have you been seeing? What have you been sensing? How have you seen people's lives being impacted now? We could say so much is happening, the fear factor, you know, as the MP with that responsibility, how do you now feel looking at your constituency? I
think I'm very fortunate and blessed to be a Member of Parliament who is currently living in her constituency. I grew up in the constituency, so I'm very okra with the changes within the constituency. I feel the pulse of Tobago East. I said to somebody recently, actually this morning at public day, somebody said, where from? I said, I'm from Roxborough, but I live in Goodwood. I say, anyway, take it, that's still Country Guild. But Tobago East has changed. In some communities, people aren't leaving their doors open as before. People are more reserved, people are more cautious. And I remember recently I was giving a speech at the OPM in Trinidad, and I said, I want my children to experience the Tobago that I experienced growing up. You know, being able to be outside at all hours of the night, and when you come back, you get a buff or a little cocktail because you're out where your parents just ain't know, but you're safe. And I remember I was making this joke with my staff. I said, when I think about it, maybe our parents are reckless because we should just be out whole day. But the thing is, they knew the society, they knew the persons in the community, so they felt a sense of peace and a sense of security and a sense of assurance that even though the children outside playing, that somebody was going to care for them. But we've seen that change in the culture of not only Tobago East, but Tobago on the whole. And this is where people are going to like me, because I like to be real. And I'm going to be real, I'm going to be frank. Crime, violence is not a matter for just the government or the Tobago House of Assembly or policymakers or the police to resolve. This is something that calls for an all of government and a whole of society approach. This is something that calls for families to really examine what is going on within the institution called family and to get the acts together. This is for people to go back to the good old days of being proper Makos and malicious Makos. When we looked out for each other. When in communities, if a stranger came in, people started asking questions. Now you have strangers coming into your community, becoming embedded within your community, and then sowing seeds of crime and violence within your community, targeting young children, targeting innocent boys and girls who might be looking for a sense of belonging because there might be some breakdown within the family structure. So as I said, people not gonna like because be frank, we really need to start looking at ourselves. I said just today, it's a matter of persons taking individual responsibility first and individual accountability. So for example, you see your son driving about a car. You didn't buy the car for your son. Where you get the car from? And I'm going on to Tobago, there, like I'm in Tobago Palance. You're driving around this car. You're not asking a question. You're not going to notify police, say, well, I see this car up here. Can't account for it. You're not doing that as a parent. Your little son or daughter out the road after 7, 8, 9 in the night smoking weed. And then if a neighbor pull up your child, you're going to cuss the neighbor. It starts within the home and the family. I'm not saying that there isn't a role for the police because the police must ensure law and order. I'm not saying that there isn't a role for government because we must ensure that we put policies in place to ensure that we have a society that is cohesive, a society that is able to thrive. I'm not saying that there isn't a role for the judiciary because people are entitled to free and fair trial in a reasonable time frame. I'm not saying that there isn't a role for other institutions, the church. I'm not saying there isn't a role for private sector, but it goes right back to the home and the family. Mothers and fathers, what are we doing? Are we holding ourselves accountable? It's easy to blame somebody else, Marilyn, but it's hard to look at yourself and find your own flaws. I just want to put that out there.
I want to push further into something you mentioned, and I like the direction you went with it. You spoke of back in the day, as a child, you could just be out and whether it is you perceive now that probably your parents were reckless, the reality
listen, I don't want my parents, my mom and my dad to get back to me. That was just me being, just, when I reflected on the past, and I say, well,
the chances they took.
Yeah, because
for example, now it would look like chances.
August holiday, leave home and you're in beach whole day by yourself.
Yes.
And I'm
no
thinking,
adult supervision.
I don't even want my children to go down the road by themselves too much. But as I said before, it was a safer time and people were looking out for each other. I remember, okay, I said we go to the beach or whatever, but I could bet that when we think that we down the bay, either Providence, Pravid might be coming and peeping, or my daddy or somebody, but you're not seeing that nowadays. People get so selfish.
That is where I was going.
People get so selfish. Yeah. And the sad thing, people think that, okay, if I keep my children home and safe and sound, that they're going to be insulated and protected. But your child going to leave home, they're going to go to school and meet a hurting child. They're going to be in town and somebody might attack them. Yeah. So you can't afford to be selfish. You have to be willing to open up your heart, open up yourself, to looking out for other people still. We have to go back. People say, we have to go back to the concept of the village raising the child. That is so important. Because growing up, as I go back, Roxborough might not like Roxborough, but I love Roxborough. I am proud to say that I'm from Roxborough because as a Roxborough, the community helped to shape me into who I am. Helped in a significant way. And I remember one time I came dead last in Tessa and my daddy told me, go and show people your report book. And I will never forget when Janice Carruth held me and she cried and she said, don't let nobody, and that gave me extra motivation. How many parents and how many neighbors doing that for children still? Yeah. We need to go back to the good old days of the village raising the child. We need to go back to the good old days when people were willing to cast their eyes out to look out for other people. That's I think if we start really moving away from the selfish nature and being more community-centered and community-focused. There's a saying in, I think it's an African saying, Ubuntu, I am because we are. Yeah. If we embrace that concept, then we could see a reduction in crime and violence. Because if you are angry, then you're going to lash out. But if you are happy, if you are thriving, if you are peaceful, then that's going to reflect on the way you interact with people, and that's going to shape the way your society is going to develop and the interactions in your society. That's how I see it.
So I want to tie something back to what you're saying here and have you now comment on it. And I know it's something that you as well would be passionate about and have always been. Someone would have raised a comment at the consultation, and one of the moderators attempted to respond to it, but the point that the person was making, one of the points is that, you know, in terms of the schools and the level of education, especially in the country schools, you find people want their children to come into town. And so the schools in country are having less and less children.
I didn't necessarily.
I know you.
I know you saw my body language.
Yes.
And that's why you brought it up, right? And again, I'm going to go down to personal responsibility and accountability. We have some good schools in country. When I say good schools, I mean the infrastructure is pretty good, and we have good teachers by and large, and we have good children. But if it is that you have and I'm going to say, if you have a school population that is 30, right? Yeah. And every standard there's a teacher, and with that small population, you can't bring your children to excellence, something is wrong. I come from a family with a lot of teachers. And even the child with the hardest head, my daddy, my auntie, my uncle, some of my relatives who are teachers, used to get that child motivated towards some level of excellence. And I think part of the issue is that within the profession, there are some who lack the passion, and they have the issues that we must address. Yeah. I know teachers have the issues in terms of how they're classified, in terms of how they're paid, and we know in order for them to give up their best, then we must ensure that their matters are resolved. But while your matters are being resolved, you still have to know that you are accountable to those children. Yeah. You're accountable to yourself and you're accountable to God. You still have to give up your best. You still have to try to motivate your children. And another thing is that is name, prestige and name. So some people might think, okay, this school in town producing a lot of children who passing for XYZ or whatever, so you may run to that. But if you give your schools the opportunity to take your children, who might be very brilliant children, to be in the institution and get the opportunity to excel and to pass the big school or to be in the top 10 nationally, then it encourages other people in the community to send their children. I remember there was long ago, there was a time when they did the zoning, and Roxborough Sec ended up with some of the best minds. And they are now out here contributing to Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago's development. Some of them might have even gone away and are contributing to international development. But it shows that if it is that you put children closer to where they live, home, and you give the schools the right resources, the teachers are motivated, then it could change the outcome. So I want to just encourage country parents like me and Tobago East parents, you know, don't give up on your schools. Yeah. Don't give up, because we still have schools doing extremely well in Tobago East. We have primary schools every year producing children who go on to excel in their CXCs and the CAPE. I said CX is making myself sound old. C-Sec and CAPE. Right? C-Sec. So don't give up on your country schools. And I want to encourage the teachers who are at the schools in country and in Tobago East. Yes, I recognize that you have your challenges, but your duty to service, don't turn your back on that. Still give up your best. Even while we work out the issues that are affecting you, while we advocate on your behalf, because I would sometimes write to the Secretary for Education, or write to Teaching Service Commission, or write to different people. You know what? You work to me, you know I write a lot. I'm a writer. But while we work towards resolving your issues, still serve as though you're serving to honor God. That's your duty. I said to somebody recently, It's a people who don't like me. I know they hate me and they cuss me, and I hear they cuss me personally. They come to my office for help, and I still help them with grace because that's my duty. That's what I was elected to do. And I just want to encourage others to just we can't do it all the time because we are human. We wouldn't have our issues, but let us always try to serve with grace and serve as though we are honoring God, especially when it comes to children. That's important.
Folks, we are in some deep, deep waters here. But as usual, we have to pay bills because this is the #1 viewed program in Tobago. So we want to take a short break, pay some bills, and when we get back, we continue with this discussion. Stay locked on, and continue to share the life. We'll be right back.
Good morning. Put a smile on your
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, buljoil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tapago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tapago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tapago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tapago's at your service.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
folks, we are back in studio and chatting with us this evening. We have the Member of Parliament for Tobago East, the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, and we're having some great discussions on set and off set. I want to take the opportunity to say good evening to the Minority Leader, Assemblyman Kelvon Morris, who is always logged on, and the Minority Councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit. And I don't want him to feel that I forgot him. My very, very good friend and co-host, Senator Lawrence Hislop, who is also logged on and always a part of the process. Guys, we want to say good evening. I'm sorry that you're not in studio, but the studio is filled this evening. We have quite a lot taking place here. So, MP, we came off on one note, and I like the discussion where it's going. It's a very frank discussion, and I think it's a discussion that people need to hear more of. So oftentimes we are reminded of what the issues are, and the blame game kicks in, and for those who want to politicize things and so on, it's always a useful tool. But the reality is that change begins with individuals.
Exactly.
And unless we begin addressing that particular issue, then we'll always fall short. A number of the systems, and we were talking this off air, if it's one thing this country have is policy and legislation and that kind of thing. And you hear voices still saying, well, we need to legislate this, we need to do this. What in that, what's your opinion on that?
And as I often will say, people may not like me, but I will always be very frank and honest. I was asked a similar question on TV6 leading up to International Women's Day and to the launch of the NSAP, National Strategic Action Plan to End Gender-Based and Sexual Violence. And I said, it's not necessarily that we need more laws, but we really need to enforce existing laws properly. And at the end of the day, we need to put persons within the system to be held accountable. Because we often blame the system. But in the system is people.
Yeah.
And it's people not doing what they're supposed to do or not doing it to their best. So that's why we have issues. So for example, I'll use a real example, Marilyn, and forgive me, it might hurt some people out there. A call comes to a member of parliament, or a member of parliament might be scanning social media and see a request coming in for a particular public utility service. And that member of parliament will compile the information and send it in to get the matter resolved for constituents.
Yeah.
And somebody within the system, because they don't like the MP name or they don't like the MP color, they don't like the MP party, will just fling the paper aside, denying persons an essential service.
This is a true story.
Very much gospel. So is it the system that is broken, or is it people within the system that are flawed and not doing what they're supposed to do? Because, okay, we have amended legislation to give further protection to women in matters of domestic violence and so on. And you would have a woman, another true story, in imminent danger, trying to get recourse, trying to get help, and trying to get a protection order, and somebody telling her to come back in August or July. You understand? Is it the system, the laws that's flawed, or the persons who's supposed to be implementing or administrating? You understand? So we need to move away from blaming this system and start looking at ourselves as individuals and holding each other accountable. That's really the long and short of the story, Marilyn.
I like the
I know
fact
it's an
that
unpopular opinion, but as I said, I could only be me. I could only tell
I
my
like the
truth.
real examples, and that opens up an entirely different and a broader conversation in terms of, and I'll piggyback on what you said earlier, where the community was involved in raising children, and so there was stronger family ties and that kind of thing. What happened between then and now? Because we definitely seeing a moving away. I don't feel responsible for your children, and you don't feel responsible for mine. I don't feel responsible to tell the guys on the block that, hey, this is wrong. Back in the day, I know when a senior or elderly person or a teacher would be seen walking down the street, if fellas lying on the block and they're doing something wrong, they will scamper, they put away the cigarette. At that time it was cigarette. They'll put away the cigarette. If there's a stranger on the block who is not from the area, an elderly person would pass and stop and say, who are you?
Yeah, that's what people say, who are you?
Yeah.
I always say it in Tobago, who are you?
Who are you? And
Who you belongs to?
That is it. You have to now give a breakdown of your family history. Who is your parents, your grandparents, what area you're from. And depending on what you say, that elderly person would now turn to the fellas in the area and say, don't follow bad company, eh? And chastise you. We've moved away from that and we're seeing the effects of it. You spoke of the NSAP initiative. One of the things that we're seeing also affecting our communities is the trauma of the thought of crime.
Yeah.
Especially, and we're going to focus on women and children here. We know that we have an issue right now with the murder toll going up. We want to leave that conversation in part for the police to be able to contribute to as well. But the trauma of a young lady feeling, and a young lady said this to me just yesterday, she no longer walks the street. She used to take a little walk in the evening. She no longer does that because mentally she's now traumatized. Children are now traumatized to simply be sent to the shop. You know, they're afraid. Once it's getting dark, they don't want to go out. What do you see in terms of that trauma, how it's impacting even the day-to-day living and lifestyle of the people in your constituency?
As I would have mentioned earlier, that you see now where people aren't as open as they were before. So long ago, you might have gone to a community and people have their doors open. Sometimes they're not even home. So people are becoming more conscious. So they're shutting themselves in. And when I say shutting themselves in, not only physically shutting themselves in, but emotionally shutting themselves in. In order to, I just want to remind people that there are more good people in Trinidad and Tobago. There are more good people in Tobago East than there are bad seeds and bad people. So I want to put that on the table. Yeah. And we, the good people, we need to start reclaiming our space. And even in the process of reclaiming our space, we need to seek support and seek help. And I want to speak specifically for children. I know some children, as you said, are traumatized. There's help available. There are resources available, not only through what we are doing at Gender and Child Affairs or through the Tobago House of Assembly or through the Ministry of Health, but there are a number of civil society organizations offering support to children who may be traumatized. And the same goes for women and men who may have been victims of a crime or some violent situation, or who might have witnessed some sort of crime or witness criminality in some form. Help is available. What I want to do is to encourage persons to seek help. One of the things that I realize that we don't do enough in my constituency, and I'm being frank, we don't seek help enough. We don't reach out and make ourselves available to the resources that are there for our benefit. And not just in terms of emotional, psychosocial help. Even simple things as grants that will help you to become a better business person, a grant to help you become a better farmer, a grant to help you improve your home so that your home situation could be better if you're vulnerable. There's a laid-back attitude. And we need to come out of this laid back, sit back and wait and let it come to me, and become really more forceful in getting assistance. I remember some years ago I said that we need to be seekers of information and knowledge in Tobago, and I still hold to that. Too many persons within the constituency don't seek information. If they're seeking information, it's not the right information to build them. Yeah. But disinformation, misinformation, or comments that not doing anything for the development. Like my father used to ask me long ago, Daddy, where you going? What would my response do to your development? You know? And we're seeing a lot of that in the constituency. I want to encourage Tobago East people and Tobagonians to become more forceful in seeking the development and the advancement. Because if you develop, if you advance, if you become empowered, you have especially a woman, because there's a saying that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a village, a community.
Yeah.
Especially women, if you become empowered, you have the ability then to go on, not to just change your children's life, but to also shape your community and make it a better place and a better space. And that is one of the reasons why at Gender and Child Affairs, we have been really pushing women's economic empowerment. Recently, we had the Women's Village. We had one in Trinidad. We partnered with the Tobago House of Assembly. We had one in Tobago, and we're going to San Fernando. We are looking at different ways in which we can empower our most vulnerable citizens to help them become more meaningful contributors to national development and improving Trinidad and Tobago development trajectory. We are a blessed people and a blessed nation, but sometimes we don't see it enough, and sometimes we speak negatively over ourselves and our islands too much, and there's power in the tongue, Marilyn.
So you mentioned earlier, and we're building this out now. You mentioned earlier there's help.
Yeah.
And we exist now in a time in Tobago where at the level of the Tobago House of Assembly, I think that I can say this without fear of contradiction, many persons have now realized that there has been a stagnation. They're turning for help in different doors, and instead of meeting doors, they're actually meeting walls. So there's not the ability of the average citizen to penetrate the THA division. So any level of assistance, we would have seen dismantling of the processes established with respect to food cards, with respect to social assistance at the level of the THA. As the Member of Parliament with overall oversight for the entire constituency, there is hope then through you and agencies within the central government. What are some of these programs outside of the grants and so on? And again, I will go back to the NSAP. That's very interesting. Many women are victims of domestic violence, not just physical, but psychological, emotional,
financial,
verbal.
goes the whole gamut, yeah.
And one of the things that holds persons within that framework is dependency.
Yes, definitely.
And you mentioned something about empowerment. I want us to expand on that. How could a woman who wants to break into not just her own person as an entrepreneur, but to break the dependency that is probably causing her to stay in a situation?
So I'm really excited to announce that one of the initiatives that was recently launched by the Gender and Child Affairs Division in the Office of the Prime Minister is a program we call STEP, Survivors Transformation and Empowerment Program. And STEP is not just for female victims or survivors, because we recognize that within our space that there are men who also are abused, and we recognize that they too need assistance. So STEP is two-pronged. Under STEP, there is a grant facility towards civil society organizations to provide training opportunities for survivors, and that goes up to $50,000. A minimum of 10 persons must be trained.
Civil society, expand on that.
It could be a church group,
I want these entities to listen.
A community-based organization like a club. Once it is that you're in the business of working with women or men who might have been victims or survivors of domestic violence, gender-based violence in any form, and you have the capacity to provide training so that they can then go on to either establish a business, strengthen a business, or develop a skill, learn a skill that they could then monetize, then we are calling on you. We are willing to work with you and partner with you. The other aspect of STEP is a grant funding facility, and that is for the individual. So, for example, if I might have been a victim of domestic violence, but I have a hobby, and I think I could turn my hobby into a business. So I like to cook, and I think I might be able to cook some food and sell on the side, but I just need a little kickstart.
Yeah.
STEP provides a grant funding facility of up to $10,000 for that. But I might be a victim and I need some more training. I think I need to get some help to get myself to the next level. And I want to see if I could get some kind of training to help me to establish a business or something like that. There is that opportunity, a scholarship opportunity of up to $10,000. And I want to encourage all persons who would have been through, who have experienced gender-based violence in any form. Once you would have made a report to the police, you might have been assisted through the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, or the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, or you might have been on or registered with the Domestic Violence Hotline or whatever. You have evidence that you indeed qualify. Then make use of the opportunity. We have it available to you. And again, just to make an appeal to those organizations that may be working behind the scenes to support persons who are victims or survivors, the opportunity is there for you to access the grant funding to provide training to persons. At the end of the day, each one, teach one, build one, together we could transform the space that we call home.
So the organizations that you speak of, civil society, is there a process that you have to go through? Do you have to meet a certain criteria? Let's say I'm an NGO and I say, okay, within my community, I've observed a trend in terms of unemployment. Now, we know a lot of people being affected by THA policy, quote unquote, decisions, and they're finding themselves home. At all tiers, CPEP, URP, all the way up to technical people in divisions are finding themselves home.
Right.
How do they access?
No, so that would be a different category. So remember, STEP is for survivors.
Right.
The key word in this is survivors. So in order to qualify to be in STEP or to deliver a service as a civil society organization, your target audience is specific to victims or survivors of gender-based violence, domestic violence. Right. For persons, so you're an NGO and you notice that they send on people from CPEP, they send on people from this division, and you want to run a program, you want help. There are other avenues that you could seek to get funding to do that through the central government. Also, if you yourself, you're an individual and you might have been sent home and you might want to access funding to establish a business or enhance a business, then we have facilities through NETCO and different state enterprises that you could approach. And for young people in particular who might be interested in agriculture, I was trying to encourage a young man today, and I got excited when he said he's going to apply. You know, the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service has a really powerful program that is agriculture based that could really help to shape not only the way how we do agriculture, but to help in terms of our food security. And I want to encourage persons to apply, because that program, the application process just opened up for that. That is I think it's Youth Agricultural Apprenticeship Program or something like that they call it. That is there. Just recently I saw them advertising again through the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, where they're training persons in the oil and gas industry as rig operators and so on. And I want to tell Tobagoans, it is called Trinidad and Tobago. So whatever is available nationally, if you're Tobagonian and you're willing to embrace the opportunities in Trinidad, make full use of the opportunities. It is called the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Do not deny yourself because, well, I'm a Tobagonian, I wouldn't get through. As my friends will say, if you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance. You had to apply.
Exactly.
Had to apply.
And I want to stress something that even our present political leader continues to say, and I've heard it echoed on various forums. Tobago gets 2 bites of the cherry.
Definitely. We're very fortunate. I sure from people all the time. No, seriously. I say
2 bites of the cherry.
Sometimes we get 3, we're really very fortunate as Tobagonians, and I don't think Tobagonians recognize how fortunate we are. Sometimes even just going through communities in Trinidad, and I just look at the infrastructure, I look at the way people live, and I say, if Tobagonians really come and take a drive through
and look,
then they'll realize, you know, despite all that's happening, we still have to thank God for the many blessings. Because Tobagonians are very fortunate. We get serviced by the central government and we get serviced by the THA. Sometimes programs are duplicated and things that Trinidadians don't get, we get in Tobago.
Yeah.
So I don't want us to ever lose sight of the fact that despite our challenges as a people and as an island, that we are indeed fortunate and blessed.
And I really want to take the opportunity to plug in here that all these services that we're seeing unfolding and the benefits are benefits that have been made available based on PNM policy.
PNM policy.
The People's National Movement has continued to be an institution that sits, plans, develops policies that directly impact people's lives, not just today, but 20 and 30 years. And I'll refer to something I saw this evening on Facebook. A young man posted, thanks to Mr. Manning, and he posted his graduation picture. And he said, thank you, because I now have certificate, bachelor's, master's, PhD. And you know, he was referring to like GATE, CPEP, not CPEP, YTEP, and these other program, MIC and so on. And policy it impacts 10 years, 20 years, and that's what real governance is about.
I think that's what sets us apart.
Yes.
We have never, the People's National Movement, when in government, we have never established policy for our time. It has always been putting proper policy in place to impact generations to come. And sometimes people might think a particular thing might be harsh or they can't see the benefit, but we don't govern for today, only today. We look at our children, our children's children, we look at the future of Trinidad and Tobago. And I think it's easy for us to do that. Because if you're a party that created a nation, then you're always going to want what's best for that nation.
Exactly.
And as any good mother or any good father, once you create a child, you always try your best to do what is right for that child. Sometimes you might have to tell a child no, because you've seen down the road. And I could talk like because I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might see my child and say, no, but I could see down the road what could happen.
Yeah.
And that is it, because we would have birthed this nation called Trinidad and Tobago, coming out of a vision of a PNM. That is why we could make the tough decisions. Because at the end of the day, our love for this country, whether we're in office or out of office, our love for the people would always force us and compel us to do what is right. Not for today, but for tomorrow. And for future generations. I want to put that on the record, Marla. Sorry if I sound very passionate, but when I'm speaking about about governance and speaking about social issues, that is just my nature. So bear with me.
That's why I mean not to bear. I mean this is why we have you here. This entire program is yours tonight.
Okay, thank you.
and that is why our founding father would have echoed the sentiments that the alternative to the PNM is always going to be chaos and confusion. Folks, we're going to take a short break. And when we get back, time is literally attacking us. But when we get back, we're going to shift again into some critical areas of discussion. We have the Member of Parliament for Tobago East, Honorable Ayanna Webster, with us this evening. And I mean, some amazing discussions. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
She ride the wave, come jump in the range, and drop on it, that she want your money, mean. Don't need your love, that I cost me fi pay. Like King Solomon, a bag a girl to me name. Every girl broke out, Lord, broke out. Me say hot girl, understand your time fi step out. Big bumper girl, your time fi get strap out. Hand on your knee, treat a girl and your body. And every girl I get wild out tonight. Party in my out tonight. If she suck, me a fine out tonight. Now you don't know what a wild out tonight. Out the blue light, fi a try out the back. I can't live without you, I can't be without you for too long. Cause when I'm around you, I feel like the heavens is coming down. I
Tipsy presents Sip and Paint, an expression of a mother's love. Join us at the Tropicist Beach Hotel, Sunday, May 12th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Guests are entitled to finger foods and wine. Full package painter tickets only $600. And if you just want to hang out, we've got you. Limers pay $450. You'll be entertained by a special sensational reggae artist, a live band, and come witness our bonfire. We've got loads of giveaways. We're catering to mom all evening. Sunday, May 12th, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tropicist Beach Hotel. Come, sip and paint with Tipsy.
No place like home, home, home.
Oh, I love Tobago, baby.
When we outside, it's an ocean of love. All that we align to the stars up above. Let we dance now, take a chance now with me. And we go jump till morning. Look, the moon don't sleeping. Tell them we not leaving till the last drop of bacchanal is madness in the capital. So I feel like I run in tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. We with all my friends and them. No place like home, home, home. We go jump till the moon come down. It's we who the stars shine on. Play a mass and break away. Freedom in with DNA.
And we are back. I wish you all could benefit from some of the conversations we even having off camera. And time is not really our friend. Anytime the program is going like this, we always have challenges with time. But MP, we coming back hard at some of the things that we were discussing off here. You mentioned something to me about peace and women and
Women, peace and security.
yes. Tell us about that.
One of the things that the government has been doing is finding novel ways in which we can treat with issues around crime and violence. And Trinidad and Tobago is leading in one aspect in terms of we have established an advisory group for women, peace and security, and using the tenets and the strategies around women, peace and security to see how we could address issues around gang and gun violence in Trinidad and Tobago. And we know the role that women play as influencers in homes and in communities, and building on that to have develop an action plan for us to using the various strategies that have been used and tested in other countries around women, peace and security for us to you apply to our unique context in terms of dealing with issues around gang violence and gun violence. Another initiative that we have been pushing out at the Gender and Child Affairs Division of the Office of the Prime Minister has to do with building a cadre of what we call child rights ambassadors, working with the children, helping them to become advocates for their own rights. And we have produced some remarkable young men and women who would have passed through our child rights ambassadors program now, who have gone on to do extremely well regionally, contributing towards development of material to treat with mental health issues. There was one former child rights ambassador who during COVID would have developed an online platform to assist other students with their studies. We've had another child rights ambassador who became an ambassador with one of those regional bodies. So they have been doing good work, and we have Tobagonians who have been participating and becoming child rights ambassadors, and then using the information to go out into their communities so that we could help people to understand that children have rights, and their rights must be respected, protected, and promoted. And this is all part of our national child policy. We are very fortunate to be one of the leaders in the Caribbean in terms of having a national child policy, just as we are one of the leaders in the Caribbean in terms of women, peace, and security. So Trinidad and Tobago has been doing tremendous work towards empowering our most vulnerable citizens. I want to just remind Trinbagonians, and especially Tobagonians again, Marilyn, that we are the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And within the Republic, Tobagonians are very fortunate to have access to not only what is available through the THA, but also what is available through central government, and also what is made available to them through their MPs. Because as members of parliament, we become advocates for them. We don't just go to parliament and serve on committees or help to create legislation, but we become advocates. So for example, when constituents may have issues affecting them right here in Tobago, and it may not necessarily be a central government matter, but they need that advocate to bridge that gap between them and the Tobago House of Assembly. We become that advocate. We write on their behalf. We make the calls on their behalf. We consistently follow up on their behalf, trying to get matters resolved. So that is how we work towards serving Tobagonians. And again, I want to stress again, we get not one, not two, but sometimes 3 bites of the cherry. Services available through government agencies in Trinidad are services that Tobagonians can benefit from. So all the NEDCO, all the programs under the Ministry of Sports and Community Development. Right now, the Ministry of Sports and Community Development recently put out an ad calling community groups to apply for funding to host community sporting activities. Again, another initiative.
And this is open to
everybody. This is the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And once you are in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, you can apply. You could live in Charleville. It's a government program. You have access to that program. I just want to reinforce that. You have access to that program. And one of the things I've recognized as the Member of Parliament for Tobago East is that people don't take up the opportunities.
I was going to bring that up.
People don't take up the opportunities. So let me give you a live example. Somebody reached out for help with a particular thing, right? I made some calls. I said, okay, this particular agency is willing to assist you. They're going to give you a phone call. They call the person, and the person come out, well, they bring a form for me. I said, well, in order to get the help, the form must be submitted. There's something called accountability.
Yeah.
You can't just, so you have to fill out the form. If you need help to fill out the form, help is available. Just today in the constituency of my administrator was saying to me, he said, MP, you see that folder there? That is letters that we have prepared waiting for people to bring back their forms. I call them once, I call them twice. She said, listen, if I call them a 3rd time and then come in to get help to fill out the form, or they refuse to fill out the form, then I have no choice but to shred the letters that you already signed and prepared, because it's cluttering up.
Yeah.
So you will come to me, and as soon as you give me your issue, I already give my staff instructions. Okay, write to XYZ, whatever. But I can't send my letter in for you if you didn't do your part.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. We need to be more proactive And I just want to encourage persons to be more proactive.
I want to reiterate that particular point, and the reason being that you go around and you hear many persons, again with the failure of the THA, persons are now saying that, you know, I wanted help from this place, I wanted help from this government agency, but I'm not getting it. And then when you carry the conversation, they never made an application. and I think you hit the nail on the head with the issue of forms. Some organizations, we would have spoken of, like the Sports and Cultural Fund and so on. As an NGO, as a cultural group, as a sporting group, you can do your proposal and send it in. A number of persons have challenges with the proposal itself. Is there an opportunity for individuals who may have been functioning a while as a group, but they don't know, they don't understand how to put a proposal together? Can they come to you? Can they come to your office for help?
My colleague isn't here, the Member of Parliament for Tobago West, and I can say they could go to her office as well for assistance.
She has her forms there.
Exactly, and the same thing applies. I often tell people, if you see me, if you haven't, if you didn't walk about, again, we give you a form. If you having challenges, please contact the office. Somebody will either come to you or you could come to us, and we will try our best to help. But if you're not coming back, if you're not calling, if you're not reaching us on the half, then how would I be able to help you? It takes two hands to a clap to happen. One hand can clap.
Exactly.
We have to help each other out.
Exactly.
And again, I said, just today she said, all the letters you instructed me to prepare for persons, they're here. I'm waiting for people to bring back their form. She says, some people I called 3 times, 4 times, you know, and they're just not bringing back their form. She says, I would ask them, do you need help? Do you need me to ask, do you need me to send your field officer? Because we have field officers. And no, I just ain't get time yet. But you have to want to solve your issue and mind your business more than me. I can't want to mind your business for you more than you. We have to help each other.
MP, before we close, and time, I don't know. The time is literally accelerating on us. Children. I know that particular topic of children is one that is particularly close to your heart. You've been championing the rights of the child since with the United Nations implementing certain policies. You've always been a champion for that particular cause. I remember even for bringing Children's Authority on stream, community, the facility in Tobago and so on. There were, I mean, challenges, but you still push through. Even the Child Protection Unit is also attached to and working in collaboration with that. What now in gender affairs that is targeted as specific to children, especially now we know in the month of mental health and all this kind of thing, but what is gender affairs doing now in terms of promoting just the rights and greater awareness? So much.
No. And I pause, and I'm a bit sad, and I'm a bit hurt, and I'm a bit disappointed. The more we do public education and sensitization efforts, the more we try to support families, try to support communities and support children, you're still seeing where the numbers in terms of reports of abuse, they're not declining fast enough for me. And I feel for those children who are hurt. I feel for those children who are placed into care, and then persons who are charged with ensuring the safety and the well-being, then turn and become predators and hurt them. One of the things that we would have done recently is that we would have partnered with the University of the West Indies and offered training to caregivers to give them a certain level of competency and to enhance their existing skills and abilities in terms of childcare. One of the things that would have come out of the investigation we had into abuse in homes and the report that would have emerged in Justice Judith Jones' report is the establishment of a standing committee on child protection in Trinidad and Tobago. That committee comprises of certain government ministers, their deputy permanent secretaries, as well as the representatives from the Tobago House of Assembly, the chief administrator, and some of the administrators from key divisions, as well as representatives from the judiciary. So it's a multifaceted multi-sectoral committee that has been meeting consistently, looking at how we strengthen the childcare and protection system in Trinidad and Tobago. There are quite a number of recommendations that would have been made. It was prioritized, and we have been systematically working through the recommendations, all towards improving the way we serve some of our most vulnerable citizens or children. One of the key activities that happened recently is the restructuring of the Child Affairs Division at the Office of the Prime Minister. So that we become more on the ground and more targeted in terms of being out there and scoping what is happening. What has happened coming out of that is the funding towards the Children's Authority being increased and at a level now that they should be comfortable. And I want to give the Minister of Finance kudos. I can't say here and type because whenever we ask, he has facilitated, and I want to thank him for that. I want to commend those agencies that work alongside with us. And I want to highlight, you see, when it comes to children and children matters, you have to put the politics aside. And I want to use the opportunity to commend the Member of Parliament for Kumuto Manzanilla, Dr. Rai Ragbir. MP Rabi would have taken the opportunity to meet with us at Gender and Child Affairs, coming out of a standing finance committee for the last budget. And when we were discussing some of the work coming out, he said, well, okay, can I meet with you all because I have an issue in my constituency around child abuse? And we collaborated, the Office of the Prime Minister collaborated with his constituency office and developed a program called In the Know on the Go that is now being taken to our Trinidad and Tobago. That is when you focus on the work, on your serving people, and not necessarily just the politics. And it would be such a beautiful thing for that to then transfer into the Tobago space, where we, instead of just punish them because whatever, look at the people and we focus on the people. I would like to say that the Chief Administrator, we had a meeting at the Office of the Prime Minister in Tobago, Central Administrative Services Tobago, where my permanent secretary summoned Trinidad as well as my PS at CAS. We met with the chief administrator as well as some of the administrators from the certain divisions of the THA. And there's an agreement for us to start rolling out these programs in Tobago because we recognize that child abuse is real in Tobago. It is a real living issue, and I want Tobagonians to start speaking up and speaking out. The days for us to say, well, it's family matter, family business, that needs to stop. That needs to stop. We need to start really protecting our children. If we don't, then we're all going to eat bitter fruit tomorrow. The seeds that we sow into the lives of our children today, we're going to reap the fruits tomorrow. And if you sow bad seeds, trust me, the fruit you're going to be bitter. We need to do better as Tobagonians when it comes to child abuse, neglect. I'm not just talking about sexual abuse and incest. Neglect in Tobago is serious and real, and we need to do better. We have been doing our part as government. We have been partnering with agencies. Just recently, we partnered with TT Post to deliver informational brochures to every household in Trinidad and Tobago. We partnered with United Nations, various agencies, including UNICEF, to develop a directory of services for children, a mental health workbook for young people and children. There's also a website, and that was not just UNICEF or UN partners and government, that was government, international development agencies, corporation, because Caribbean Airlines would have come on board to sponsor some of the things, working together all towards the aim of improving the lives of children in Trinidad and Tobago. And I just want to encourage all citizens, as I know you said we have a short time, to join us in our united campaign to end all forms of gender-based violence, as well as child abuse in Trinidad and Tobago. Let us use our voice, our power of influence to really change our society for the better. I strongly believe in the potential of Trinidad and Tobago to be a beacon for the rest of the world. And I strongly believe in the power and the potential of Tobagonians to do exceedingly abundantly great things. We just need to manifest the goodness in us on a day-to-day basis.
I want to raise an issue coming out of what you would have spoken to. there is definitely the need for us to protect our children, and not just biological parents, but everyone. Bring back the concept of the village. Mental health, and I'm raising this because we're in the mental health month. Mental health plays a critical role in the way that we even treat each other. We are seeing an ever increasing breakdown. Persons just snapping, and you see, sometimes you see somebody today and then you hear of something they did and you're like, but I know that person there. Mental health is a growing concern. You preside over a constituency where, as indicated, these issues, you're seeing a number of issues and some are not reported. We know that the breakdown bleeds all the way back to the home. What advice do you have for parents, grandparents, all adults, uncles, aunties, in terms of coping? Because, and I'm asking you this because you cope with your member of parliament role, you cope with a minister, and gender affairs is no easy ministry.
Gender and Child Affairs, the National AIDS Coordinating Committee,
Yes.
and Central Administrative Services Tobago is plenty
Yes.
work.
and there is still that balance that you have to create and be a wife, be a mom, be an advisor, people in your community. Look, what are your words of advice to persons who also dealing with the issues that they face day to day at a different level, going to work, some on the unemployment line, but they still have to protect the next generation and ensure that what they give off to them is something that is going to help them to become meaningful contributors to our development.
And I will go to something that I hear on the plane all the time whenever I travel, that if we lose air cabin pressure, you put on your mask first before you assist anybody else. You have to make sure you take care of you first. And normalize. We have to start normalizing conversations around mental health. People still think that it's taboo to say, well, I have to go and get counseling or I'm seeing a therapist. We have to normalize that. That is just a normal, just like going to the doctor for a cut, or if you have diabetes or hypertension and you go to the doctor, normalize seeking help to treat with your mental health. That's one of the key things. Another important message I want to send out there is to listen. Listen actively and intentionally. Listen to your children.
That's a big one.
Yeah, no, listen actively and intentionally. Listen, because sometimes what is not being said
It's more important.
is still, you can still pick it up. So just pay that attention. And always not help is available. Help is available through various ministries of government, through the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. There's help available. Reach out for support. There's help available for children through the Office of the Prime Minister, through the Children's Authority, through the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Help is available. We just need to reach out and ask for help. One of the challenging things that we have been seeing is that quite a number of, and I'm speaking to men now, quite a number of men and younger men have picked up suicidal ideation, right? I want all men to know that it's okay to say that you're not okay. It doesn't make you less of a man to say that I am hurting and I might need some support. You have to ask for the help. I prefer to have somebody say to me, I'm hurting and I need help, than for them not to be around. And I just want to give men out there that word of encouragement. It doesn't negate the fact that you're a man. It doesn't take away from your manhood to say that I'm not okay and I need some support. And the help is available. One of the things that we're trying to do in the Tobago space, specifically for men, and this is coming out from an initiative I had through my constituency office, Hang Jack, on the bridge. I wasn't there because it was supposed to be a safe space to men. And then the information coming back to me as MP from my office manager and the staff who would have attended and facilitated is that there were men who actually made a cry for a safe space for them in Tobago. where they could come and have somebody to talk to. And I gave the commitment to work towards having that done. And when we had the permanent secretaries in Tobago, and we had that information session we had for the Tobago House of Assembly, I put it out to them that this is something that we need to focus on and we can collaborate on. At the end of the day, it's about focusing on the needs of our citizenry or people and ensuring that they all have the opportunity to thrive and to develop and to be the best versions of themselves in this place that we call home.
Wow. That and Hang Jack.
Yeah, Hang Jack.
That was.
I heard it was really good, but I couldn't be there because I had to get him in the space now. We have Chai and Chat, the ladies,
yes.
and Chai and Chat has always been
I
a
wanted
vibe.
you to touch on that before.
Chai and Chat has always been a vibe.
The impact that Chai and Chat has been able to have, long-standing initiative, and continues to impact the woman, both emotionally and from a place of empowerment. I feel encouraged that there's a marrying now of the various initiatives, that you can actually see a picture in terms of a holistic service to all constituents throughout the East. One thing I want to raise, and it's just a quick question that I saw somebody asking, with respect to transitional homes for children who get to the age of 18 who may have been in the care of the state. Is there something that is in train or in the pipeline?
Okay, so nationally, transition facilities are now what we call hostels. Well, they are hostels and they are transitional facilities, so I'll deal with the two. In terms of hostel services and so on, that is on the Ministry of Youth Development and National Services. And I know I attended the turning of the sod for one in Civil. Then we know that we have the collaboration I was done with the Josephine Shaw facility that provides that kind of transitional hostel service for women. And there's also a facility for young men in Trinidad. One of the things that we are doing as Gender and Child Affairs is looking at how we provide that bridge between, for those children who are not 18 yet, but they're looking to 16, going to 18, and we're trying to see how best we can serve them in providing that transitioning space for them. So that is being explored and that is being considered by the Standing Committee on Child Protection. I often tell people, while I acknowledge the wins and the gains, that there's still a lot more work to be done. And we recognize that strengthening our transition services, that's an area that we have to beef up, and the work has already commenced through the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, as well as work that we are doing through the Office of the Prime Minister, Gender and Child Affairs.
Very good. I think that was quite detailed explanation, so I trust that the individual would have gotten their response. MP, your closing remarks. We wish we could go on with this conversation all night, but we're out of time. But I know you're not out of words.
I think I have been very fortunate to have the opportunity to serve the people of Tobago East. It has been a remarkable journey. I just want to encourage the people that I not only serve but live among, that for us to start really becoming more intentional in the way we live and the way we do things, become more forceful in the way we advocate for ourselves and for communities, but most importantly for us to start doing some serious introspection, and where we can do better and be better, aim to do better and be better. We are the system. Every single one of us in Tobago East, we are the system. The road sweeper, the MP, the area rep, the doctor, the teacher, we are the system. And if at the individual level we fail, then Tobago East is going to fail and Tobago is going to fail. But I want us to not fail. I want us to excel, to succeed. So I'm challenging all of us to do better and be better and take personal responsibility and accountability.
Thank you very, very much. Folks, we spent this evening with the Member of Parliament for Tobago East, the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, and it was indeed an amazing time. We had some great discussions. We had public education, we had the corrections, we had the chastising, we had the encouragements, and I think it all, from a holistic standpoint, it was indeed a great evening. We thank you for staying logged on with us, and we thank you for being agents of the information that is presented here. I know people carry the information, because many persons say that even if I miss the show, I heard what transpired. So I want to thank also our viewers for being carriers of the information. And indeed, what we've heard here this evening, I want you to spread it throughout the length and breadth of Tobago. It was a great evening, great information. I trust that the MP is going to be back with us soon.
Not after a walkabout.
Not after a walkabout, because she actually came here straight from a walkabout, and we really appreciate the sacrifice made. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Marlon David, your host, and next week we look forward to an amazing program that we have lined up for you. So enjoy the rest of your night. Be safe out there. Be your neighbor's keeper. Let's keep looking out in our communities. Let's be ever vigilant, and let us remember to keep Tobago in prayer. Have a good evening.